This is Dr. Angus Pike here from Life Chiropractic in Port Melbourne, and thanks for following our link over from Facebook. I want to take a few moments of your time now and talk with you really about low back pain. There are three things that perhaps get in the way of us really dealing with our low back pain. And here in Port Melbourne, at our practice here over the last, now almost 15 years, we've been helping our local community. In fact, we have people travel from literally hundreds of miles to come and see us here. So low back pain is one of those things that's confused a lot of the community for many reasons. The research tells us very clearly that 80% of Australians at some stage are going to experience low back pain. Surgery is proven to be very ineffective for it. Many cases of surgery need to be redone, or we end up right back at where we started from. Heading down the path of drugs is also an option that many people want to steer away from because of many of the side effects that go along with that as well. So let me tell you why most people fail with low back pain. And the first thing is we've got to get to the underlying cause of it. And the first is why I want to talk with you really about inflammation. So when I talk about inflammation, most of us at some stage have rolled our ankle. We've seen our ankle all become swollen and nasty. That same process, that inflammation that causes our ankle to become more swollen and sore at that time, is happening in many people's spines. Now, it comes about from many different cases. It comes about mostly because of the sedentary lives that we live. We spend so much time sitting nowadays. And not only the way that our spine is positioned causes that inflammation, but also comes from a big part of the diets that we now eat. So the foods that we now eat cause the body to become very inflamed. In the same way as I talked about that ankle before, foods can do that as well. In particular, the sugary man-made processed foods that we have, in particular, again, the man-made fats that are so incredibly rich in our diet. So the first thing that we do when we're dealing with our clients here at Life Chiropractic is we have to talk with our clients about diet. We have to get them decreasing the inflammation, and in many of our clients, just decreasing inflammation from very subtle little change in their diet can start to bring relief within, many cases, hours, and certainly within days for most people. So once you've dealt with the inflammation, one of the underlying causes there, then the second cause that underpins so much back pain is stress. So when we think about stress, most people are aware of perhaps the anxiety or the tension in our shoulders, maybe the depression, the sleepless nights that go along with it, but often we don't associate that stress with pain, in particular back pain. Well, let me explain a little bit about how stress plays a role with causing pain and low back pain in particular. When I talk about stress, the body's natural response to stress is much the same as if it were being chased by a lion or a tiger. We're running that same blueprint that used to serve you and I when we were perhaps cavemen and cavewomen walking across the savannah. So one of the things that happens when our body gets stressed is our muscles are going to tighten. And they're going to tighten to prepare us for that fight or that flight. So we can either get away from the lion or tiger, or we can prepare ourselves to fight in that situation. The other thing that happens when we get stressed is that we heighten up our sensitivity. So we heighten up our visual awareness, our hearing. So there might be times that you've perhaps been scared during the night and got quite a shock there, and then noticed afterwards in the silence that you could even hear and feel your heartbeat as well. See, when you have long periods of stress or prolonged stress, that sensitivity system gets highlighted. Means little pains can become big pains. And so that's another thing that I see is absolutely epidemic in the clients that we look after here at Life Chiropractic, is that one, they're inflamed, and two, they're under high amounts of stress. Now, dealing with stress can be just as simple as understanding the right powerful meditation processes, or even a breathing process I often talk about as well. Slowing the breath down, the right breath ratios as well. Taking some time out from work. It's amazing how many people's back pain feels so much better when they move away, perhaps have a holiday from work for a week or two as well. So when we work our way through the processes of dealing with the stress, when we can deal with the inflammation, the third factor that is absolutely epidemic in people with lower back pain is alignment issues. So the spine literally loses its normal balance and loses its normal position to move the way that it ought to. Now, the thing about that is that then plugs back into that inflammation and stress that I talked about before. Because you see, when a spine is out of alignment, it becomes inflamed. In much the same way a knee was out of alignment, if you were walking on it again and again, it would become inflamed. So the low back, in many cases, the pelvis is inflamed, which is probably why it's tender. You probably notice when you bend down to put on your socks that you feel like you're 20 or 30 years older than what you ought to. And then along with that inflammation as well, when that spine is out of alignment, it causes the muscles to tighten. And unfortunately, in many cases, these muscles tighten in uneven patterns from there. They're working harder in some spots and not in the right amount in other spots as well. So that's a bit like walking around with a handbrake on in your car. So the spine isn't strong, it's not balanced, it doesn't move the way that it ought to as well. So the approach for that is that's where we use our gentle adjustments to start to get that spine moving properly. You know, the most appropriate exercises to bring some balance back to the muscles, to strengthen the weaker areas and to start to stretch the tight areas from there as well. So the reason that so many people suffer with back pain is inevitably they miss one of those three categories. They're not addressing the underlying inflammation from there too. They're not dealing with the stress that is pandemic for just about all of us nowadays as well. And then thirdly, they're not dealing with the alignment and the movement of the spine as well. Now, when you get all three of those things working together, then the changes are often miraculous. And as I said before, often much faster than what people expect from there as well. So if you have questions around whether or not we might be able to help you here at Life Chiropractic, then there'll be some areas down below that you'll be able to send us a question as well, or otherwise you can give the office a call on 9646 1414 and schedule an appointment with one of our chiropractors where we'll take some time to sit down and work out, in fact, is this the right place for you to get the care that you need, or can we help you get somewhere else so that we can deal with that low back pain once and for all. So have a look through those three categories. Are you dealing with the inflammation first of all? Are you dealing with perhaps the stress that might be around you? And then how's the alignment of your spine? So again, this has been Dr. Angus Pike here from Life Chiropractic in Port Melbourne, helping you hopefully solve the problems of your lower back pain. See you soon.